Welcome to Moving Iron with Casey Seymour and Greg Peterson, the podcast for anyone and everyone involved and interested in the business of ag equipment. If you want to understand what trends and market forces are impacting the price of your iron, you've come to the right place. Buckle up, it's time to move some iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. I got Greg Machinery, Pete Peterson on to talk about what's happening in the world of equipment. And then this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by John Deere. Greg, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Casey. How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. We're in that peak time right now, going into August, and that's just that pre-harvest time. You start looking at some stuff roll through various auctions and what have you. And there's some of that stuff that's happening right now. Yeah, obviously there's some guys in the South that are picking corn, those kind of things. But as you start moving through crop tour time and all those kind of things, as you start watching that thing happen, you're starting to see the auction market start to heat up, and that's typically when you see August start to kick in.
Yeah, dog days of summer here, moving into mid-August. Good amount of activity, a little bit higher than we've seen past years. That's kind of been true all of 26 here. Like we've talked about before, the number of machinery auctions has been up. It was up close to 20% through like mid-May. Maybe not quite that much now, but still up. And yeah, what I saw last week, Casey, same trend. It's all about condition and a reaction to, obviously the price of new equipment is pretty high. So farmers kind of collective mindset, looking for the best condition used. So, I mentioned before we started recording a couple examples just caught my eye from the past week. I know our friends at Merit Auctions had a large, well, I shouldn't say large, but online dealer auction, no reserve for AgPro, of course, great John Deere dealer with a geographic footprint up into the eastern Midwest, into Ohio, and then of course down into the Southeast. But most of all this equipment was from Ohio, pretty much 95% of it. Their pre-harvest auction. Thought some pretty good numbers on that, strong pricing. So things like a 22 model John Deere X9 1000 combine, 654 engine hours with emission warranty, out until mid-September of 27 or 3,000 hours. That brought 450, which I know it can sound like, oh my gosh, that sounds like a really late number, but this is a 22 model, so 4 years old. And the fact is, that's the highest auction price in 8 months on a 22 model X9 1000. So I thought that was pretty good.
And it's a consignment sale too. That's the other thing about it. That's impressive, Greg.
Right.
It's a dealer consignment sale.
Right. Exactly. So I think, yeah, right. So there's always been, 36, 37 years covering this stuff. It's sort of why, going way back before the internet, Casey, we put out our auction price book, and I was a 23-year-old kid. What did I know? But even back then I knew you can provide the data like, okay, this combine brought X. So I guess back in 1989, what was I reporting on? Maybe like Titan 2s and stuff like that. But
8820s.
Exactly. They weren't selling for 450, I'll tell you that.
No, they weren't.
But we always included what type of auction it was. So we had a little notation: farm auction, consignment auction, dealer auction. Of course, there were no online auctions. Nobody was online then. But you're right. To see a stronger price like that from a, quote unquote, a wholesale auction, it tells you things about the market. And also on that auction last Thursday was a 20 model S780 Deere combine, 1,347 engine hours. Came from Tiffin, Ohio. Of course, now Ohio is, when I chart my numbers, that northern half, especially north central, northwest Ohio, is probably the highest resale area. It just is. But anyway, this 20 model S780, 1,347 engine hours went for $245. And so, that's the highest auction price on a 20 model same deal in 8 months, going back to December. So I thought that was pretty strong there. And then the day before that, last Wednesday, August 5th, our friends at Big Iron they had a little kind of a mid-sized farm retirement auction within their big auction. And this was for the Van Langen farm retirement auction out of Ellsworth, Iowa. And some really strong prices on some slightly older equipment here, Casey. Just some examples like that, a 2014 John Deere 635 FD Draper. Now, it did sell with a Stud King 38-foot trailer, so we got to factor that in, and a Crary aerial. Okay, but $64,750 for 12 years. It's 12 years old.
Yeah.
I had to go back 3 years to find any 13 to 15 model sold with a trailer that sold that high. So Thought that was strong. They also had a 17 model 608C Cornhead, so 8-row Cornhead, $50,500.
That was
That's
the one that was
nice.
most impressive to me. That's a, it's an 8-row Cornhead. I mean, not that they're obsolete by any means, but you don't see a lot of 8-row Cornhead, which is probably why it brought $50,500. But
It can be, right?
Yeah.
It's I had to go back 20 months to find a 608C that high, December of 24. But down the line on that sale, they had a 17 model Rhino 6200 20-foot Batwing mower for $19,000. So 9-year-old Batwing mower for $19,000. I mean,
I don't know if it costs that much new.
that's a good check. Now,
Yeah.
again, description is very important. It did have a set of unused blades and arbor bolts with it, but I mean, still $19,000.
Sure.
It's very strong. And let's see, what else on that sale? Oh, a 2008 white 88 16 30 planter for $54,750. So I think, again, good condition stuff. And again, that gap between what a new one costs and what a nice, 6-7-year-old one. I covered a sale Saturday, filmed a YouTube video up by Hastings, Minnesota. It was a farm retirement auction for, what was the guy's name? Gene. I apologize, Gene. I can't remember your last name right now. Nice fella. But it was by Houghton Auction Service and slightly older stuff. But he had a Case IH MX200. I think it was an 09. I think like 1,715 hours on it. Went for $87,500. That's like the fourth highest ever on an MX200. Now you don't see a ton of those. But the real kicker on that sale, Casey, was they came around to the trucks, grain trucks, and they had a pair of International 9200s, an 06 and an 07, both with 21-foot load line steel boxes. One of them had 349,126 miles. The other had 448,100. And they're selling choice. So my experience with selling choice has been, it's a pretty good indicator. When the used market is heating up, a lot of times buyers will take both. And Todd Houghton called it, it took like 6 minutes to sell these things. Bidding was bouncing all over the place. And the first one, he said sold $84,750, which, I thought, for 20 years old, pretty good hard cash number there. And it took about 2 seconds and yep, buyer takes both. So twice the money, $84,750 times 2. So
2 times the money. Yeah.
2 times the money. Right. Somewhere else, there was also another auction. I know what it was. It was the same day. It was Saturday. People got a big kick out of this. I posted it on social, some pictures. So I was up in Hastings, Minnesota, but our friends at Sweeney Auction Service out of Waukon, Iowa, they had quite a farm auction. It was for 2 brothers that had passed, 2 twins, Marvin and Melvin. I apologize, I can't remember their last name, but the sale was in Lawler, Iowa. And it was, I don't know if it was the name of their farm. It said IH Country Farm Estate Auction. And Marvin and Melvin were red guys their whole life. And I mean, they had some interesting items on that auction. But I talked to Penny Sweeney. It was Monday morning. I said, Penny, I hear you had quite the auction Saturday. And now no internet bidding.
Wow.
Which
That's
is really interesting. But they had over 1,500 people at the auction. People were I was up in Hastings and people were pinging me like, Pete, the crowd here is just nuts. But on that sale, they had 2 International 3088s. One was open station. And I don't know if they sold them choice, but the second one had higher hours, I think. And I think it was one of those deals where, again, the second one, you just went higher. So the first one's gone. There's only one left. So that's always been another Machinery Pete little deep cut auction bidding tip is buy the first one.
Yeah, the second one always is more expensive.
Second one goes for more money.
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
for sure.
human nature.
Yep.
But on that sale, they had a great sale. They had a set a record on an International 3288, which of course you don't see many of those. But I think it brought $36,000. A low, I was like 3,000 some hours on it. And they had a 5288 2-wheel drive go for $39,000. I think that was a top fiver. They had a 1979 Ford F-150 Indy 500 Pace Car Edition with 10,170 miles on it. That brought $35,000. And that does remind me of one other item on the Hastings, Minnesota auction, a pickup, an '01 Chevy 2500 HD with like 36,000 miles on it. And you could always tell that when people kind of crowd in, it's like, oh, I came for this pickup, and that brought like 27,750, I think was the number there. So cool to see almost a 30-year-old pickup approach 30K.
Low miles on that stuff.
There were some good pickups available, interesting pickups available this weekend. My camera guy for our TV show, Russ Natusco, always kid Russ, anytime we're out filming and he sees a pickup like that, with a little bit of the older look to it for guys our age, always kind of, oh man, look at that thing. And he always threatens like he's going to buy it. He hasn't yet. He'll be filming with one hand and raising his bin with the other hand, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, good week. Lots of good auctions. And again, same trend. I think good condition stuff is selling real well.
That'd be the only time you could raise your hand during an auction, Greg, and probably talk your way out of it. I was talking to Greg. It was a direction for Greg.
Right. Yeah, Todd Houghton.
Well, there they are, mocking you.
See you next year, loser.
That weedy area that's got you thinking, man, I hate that spot. Wish I'd sprayed better. Get the last laugh with a sprayer upgrade from John Deere. Precision upgrades that can increase your sprayer's performance, like ExactApply, advanced nozzles to give you more control at more speeds. It's just one of the many precision upgrades you'll find at johndeere.com. Now, let's see who's laughing.
Looking for more accuracy, more productivity from your current planter? Let's get exact with precision upgrades from John Deere. Start with ExactEmerge and get accurate singulation and spacing at 10 miles per hour. Or choose ExactShot to promote early root growth and cut fertilizer costs. And with FurrowVision, save time by verifying seed depth right from your cab. Visit johndeere.com/planter upgrades and see why nothing runs like a deer.
At the sale Saturday in Hastings, Minnesota, I'm trying to remember where we were on the line. They just sold a John Deere 569 round baler, 877 bales, no net wrap though, brought $20,000. And then there was, I think, a tillage item right next to it, like a Case IH TigerMate 200, a small one. I think they brought like $20K. But Todd was calling from the truck, and he was calling along the bidding. He goes, oh, wait. And he goes, oh, I guess you were swatting a fly or something. So it made me remember when I was young, 23, 24, of course, there was no internet. I had to go out and write prices down myself or call auctioneers on the phone. But young guy, I remember being like paranoid, like, okay, my face is itchy, but I ain't itching it.
Yeah.
I don't have money in my checking account to buy a John Deere 350 sickle mower, so I'm not my hands are in my pockets.
Yeah, my grandpa, it was his pastime. Years ago, those old, estate sales where they, they're selling lamps and whatever else,
Right.
And he'd always be like, don't raise your hand. Don't keep your hands in your pockets. Don't.
Did Grandpa ever let you bid on anything when you were a little guy?
Every once in a while he would. When there was something, he's like, raise your hand. That was kind of what we're doing. But
how would you describe, if you went to a sale today, what would be the Casey Seymour in-person bidding strategy? What would it be? I think I know the answer, but I just want to hear you describe it.
That's funny. You always get these guys that are doing that, and they always have sometimes you can't spot who the bidder is. You're like, who's got the bid? Like, who's got,
right.
And they're doing like this thing here. They're doing this, they're touching their hat, or they're, whatever, they know the auctioneer. So they're like, doing the little head nod thing or whatever.
Right.
I've always just been raising my hand like that. I'm just, just like this. It's me. I'm the one bidding right now.
Wow. So, yeah. Right. I did have a thought. I was filming those pair of International 9200 trucks. And again, they sold choice, 84,750 each, buyer took both. But it gets down to, the back and forth, gets down to two guys, and they're going back and forth. And running through my head, and it did the same thing. They had an international Case IH 5088 combine on a pre-def 09 model, low hours. It was kind of stripped down though. He didn't have any yield monitors or anything like that. I think that one for like 92 and a quarter or something like that. But same deal, two guys bidding. And personally on those deals, I've seen those bids can run you can go a long ways on those deals.
Yeah.
And if you get the feel like it's you and one other person, and you sort of have in your head what your number is. Personally, I think people should just do a jump bid. If you're going $1,000 increments, 81, 82, and you think it's going to go for 89, just if you're at 81 or 2, say 85. Now, because what you're really doing there is you're telling the other guy, you ain't getting it. You're just not going to get it. I'm in business. Now, people don't do it because they're like, well, maybe I'll get it for 83. Well, yeah, you might, but more likely it'll go for 89. But if it's at 81 and you're say 84, say 85, just jump at one increment. And 70% of the time you're going to get it for lower than it would have gone. I see it all the time. And you don't see it as much now because it's so much online. But in an in-person auction, you can physically indicate to other bidders, this baby's mine.
I like to do the half thing. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do, just to see how good a math they can do. I'm like, do that. Just to see what they can, how good they can do that. But
yeah,
my competitive nature, man, when something like that happens and I realize it's just me and the other guy, I'm like, I'm going to win, even if it's going to be more than I want to pay. So
that's, wow.
Which is horrible. It's bad, but I can't not help myself. So,
well, I've said this before, but the other thing I noticed, I saw it again Saturday, is people bid. And it's good. We all kind of have our number, like, okay, 40,000 is my limit. So guy bids 41, and then the other guy or gal will say, nope, and turn and walk. And, so I'm just watching film. And now usually I would say over half the time they're not done. And the data says they go about 4 to 6 steps. Boom, 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 stop. A good ring man gives them a little air. And they come around, well, what do you think? Hard to find these. I'll bid again. And usually when they bid again, it's 2 to 3 more times. So that's the human element of the in-person auction, which was fun to see Saturday. And also, if you go to our Facebook page, on the post I made about the Lawler, Iowa auction, Penny Sweeney sent me a bunch of pictures of the crowd was so big. And again, the fact that there was no online bidding, of course, some people were jumping in and saying, see, you don't need internet. But then again, other people are known, don't be an idiot.
Pretty unique stuff there, though. That's why you did.
Now this was, Penny told me, she said it was a sea of IH caps, which if you're a plugged in international, you knew about this sale. When you've got a low hour 5288, a 5088, 3288, a pair of 3088s, they had an 815 combine that went for $4,250. A guy I know up in Hutchinson, Minnesota, bought a 445 IH Baylor on the sale for $2,900. So it was just like an IH 80s time machine, 70s and 80s. So, and I don't know why people were speculating, well, they didn't want internet bidding because a lot of family members wanted to buy. I don't think that was the case. I don't know if it was more of an homage to Marvin and Melvin, the two twins. They were 81 years old. They both passed in the past year. That this is how they rolled. So to kind of honor them, the family didn't want the internet bidding. So Sweeney's like, okay, cool. And
brave. I'm going to be honest with you. That's really a brave move.
Yeah.
In today's world.
Yeah. No, shout out to Jeff and Penny and Sweeney and their daughter Jody. They're fantastic. I've covered tons of their sales going back. They have a very, very loyal following. Great people.
Yeah, it shows you. I wouldn't. I'd be like, you're out of your mind if you don't want to. Like, as an auctioneer, I might even be like, you know what? I don't want to do this sale. I might step away from it but it shows you to them how much they're loyal, like their ability to market something, right? Yes. That really lays a pretty good picture.
Yeah. Well, in both cases, Saturday, I was torn because I wanted to be in both places, Lawler and Hastings. I went up to watch Todd's auction, Houghton. But I've watched them sell for years and Sweeney sell for years. Both have been really helpful to me. It did take me, I told my wife when I got home Saturday night, I said, that reminded me of, when I started doing YouTube. It was 2009. So I was 20 years into my building machine repeat business, and then social media comes along, all of a sudden YouTube, and I was like, sweet, I got a free TV channel, cool. I guess there were no iPhones then. I just took a flip phone and I would just hop in the truck and go somewhere and film an auction and post it. And it reminded me of that years ago days. That was fun. It was really fun. And, but again, in both cases and all across the board last Saturday and last week, good condition used. It's what people want and need right now. I think with some of those examples like that 22 model X9 and the 20 model S780, that's an indication, like we've talked about, Casey, that people don't tend to, they can't see it because they're not doing what you and I do. We're looking at the back end of Machinery Pete and going, oh, the volumes really dropped on its used combines or used tractors. But that tightening is why, and again, people aren't buying new, so if they need to update their combine, they're looking for the best used model.
For sure. All right, Greg, good place to stop. Just want to shout out to everybody. School's starting back up, so pay attention to what's going on out there. And harvest is right around the corner, and that's another good time to pay attention to what's going on as well and keep everybody safe. So best wishes to everybody as they roll through this new school year and this harvest season and keep everybody safe and moving forward. So, Greg, appreciate you being on the podcast. Folks want to reach out to you and get more information about coming and speaking at an event or showing up at an auction to film that. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, just hit our website, machinerypete.com, down on the bottom. I think it's on the bottom or somewhere there's a little contact info. You can call our office or shoot an email, and that gets through to me. And tomorrow, heading out speaking in Blue Earth, Minnesota, I think a Farm Bureau event. So love doing those. I was down in Kentucky a couple weeks ago, so always fun to get out and visit with people. So,
well, Greg, appreciate it, man. We'll catch you again next week.
Sounds good, Casey. Have a good week.
All right, thanks. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. I want to thank Greg, Machinery Pete Peterson, for being on this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. I also want to thank John Deere for being the sponsor as well. My name is Casey Seymour. If you want to find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever else I'm at, it's either at Moving Iron Podcast or Moving Iron LLC. You can find me there. You can also go to the Ag web page, look under the podcast section. You're going to find the audio version of that there. You can also watch the video version of this over on the Farm Journal YouTube channel. Check it out there. Moving Iron Summit's coming up here in Louisville. If you're a dealer and you want to attend that, that's September 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Check that out there if you're interested in that. All the information is on AgWeb under the events page. You can find all the information there about speakers, program, the whole deal. So it's all there, how to book rooms, all the stuff's right there. So check that out. So looking forward to that, to everybody coming to that again this year. Special thanks to all the people on the backside that make this thing happen every month. So I appreciate it, or every week. Thank you for all that you do for that. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week. And remember, Moving Iron is available on Farm Journal's YouTube channel and anywhere podcasts are found. So until next time, let's move some iron.